Today, the developers released information, well, maybe more like videos, about the new Sea Battles game mode coming to Rise of Kingdoms. So stick around in this video for everything we can figure out so far. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in this very short video, we're going to go over everything we can figure out by watching the few short clips that the developers released just this morning. Merry Christmas, by the way. Just this morning on several of their official channels, including a couple international channels as well. Now, I'm going to have the links in the description to those videos so you can go check them out, but you're seeing the footage right here. And there's a number of things we need to talk about. In fact, in order to break down what it is that we're looking at here, I took screenshots of all of the choice moments, and we'll look at them one at a time. I ran this video literally at 0.25 speed to find everything I could find. And actually, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. So let's get started. The first thing we need to observe is that there's a countdown timer. So I think that this game mode is going to be a lot like Champions of Olympia, something that you queue up for and then do your battling, and then you walk away from it, unlike KVK, where it's a very, very, very long event. And if we zoom in on this, we can see that there are different types of units. So there's an archer, infantry, and cavalry symbol. And as you'll see in some of the subsequent screenshots, there are different abilities that each of those brings to this game mode. Now, this looks like it's a 5v5 game mode, which, okay, here's my thought. If they're putting some sea battle mechanic over here, I think it would be really smart to put sea battles in a game mode other than KVK, see how it works, tweak it, refine it when it's not so high stakes, and then bring elements of that into KVK. I think that could be kind of cool. So I think this is the starting point for, or the entry point for sea battles, and if it's popular, they run with it. Now, there's more to see here. There's also a circle, which presumably, just like Champions of Olympia, is a respawning or healing circle. And it's behind two boats that are more positioned kind of in front of the healing zone. So there could be something that those are doing as well. Those boats look like they've got some supplies on them, but I've got a better shot of that we can look at in a second. In fact, here it is. The match is about to start. These boats do seem to have a health bar and are connected by some planks and have a lot of supplies on them. They don't look like they're combat related compared to these other ships. And here is what combat looks like. Now, you saw some of this already, but I just want to point out that it looks like when two boats connect, they ram each other, and there's a, I guess, rammed effect. And I don't know, I think that it is just the cavalry boat that can do that ramming maneuver. My understanding from looking at other pictures is that the archer boat has a long-range shot, and that the infantry boat has a take cover effect, so it's more tanky. Now, I don't know how exactly you tank for another ship in this game mode. Maybe you reduce the damage they all take. But you can see there's also what looks like skill damage. And there is also potentially normal and counterattack damage that I'll show you in a bit. And you can see the enemy side has these boats up top as well. You can see that there's 4 minutes. Look at this. We're really digging deep here. 4 minutes and 45 seconds left in the match. Yes, I know that that's mostly cut off, but I'm just sort of guessing here. And both sides have 100% remaining. I think that is these supply barges that you're protecting. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing that you're protecting the supply barges. And here is a zoom in on a couple things taking place. First of all, the ram effect happens. So green is the active player, the person who's playing this particular account, Chili Pepper. You can see they've got some number of units left or health for their ship. So that's 109,893. And there is a surround effect at play here, increasing all damage taken by this boat, which got rammed and is presumably getting pwned. Although there are, it looks like, 6 boats in this fight. So in fact, actually, I think it's the green boat, Chili Pepper, that is getting surrounded by these 2 boats over here, maybe. And Chili Pepper has rammed one of these other boats. That's my guess. Let's keep looking at some more shots here. This was at the end of one of the videos. The ship gets sad-faced, and I thought this was an interesting screenshot also because you can see the white damage, so normal attack and counterattack, presumably going on over here. But in the second video that was on the Vietnamese channel, there was maybe a little bit more information we could get. You can see here that the barges are actually getting attacked, which leads me to believe that my conclusion about how those work is probably accurate. Destroy the enemy's barges and you win the match. That's presumably how this goes. Also, by the way, when there's a charge effect, or when a cavalry ship is moving, you can see there's sort of like those wind lines going through the ship. I think that's when it's lining up to kind of charge. I'm not entirely sure there. And this particular shot, I wanted to take because it shows a couple things. First of all, the infantry boat here has that effect take cover. And I know it's just like in the corner of the shot, but I wanted to get a picture of the fact that I think the infantry boat has the take cover effect. And the archer boat, you can see the archers sort of flying through the screen, like right over here. And the cavalry boat, I think, gets that ramming effect. That's my understanding of how that works. Here's another ramming situation here. Two boats ramming each other head on. There's probably a joke there. And I think that's counterattack damage. Some amount of normal attack, counterattack. Do I have more screenshots? I do. To do the ranged attack that you were seeing earlier, there seems to be like a warm-up time of 3 seconds. And if we go to the next shot, it's actually a much clearer picture here of this take cover effect. Now, I don't know what it's doing. I couldn't figure that much out. But this whale farmer is taking cover. I mean, typical, right? Typical whale farmer maneuver. There's another ramming effect. There you can see, I wanted to capture that circle that you saw sort of at the beginning in the very first screenshot. You might not have noticed it, but when you see here, like, oh yeah, the red team has one, the blue team has one. It's a lot more clear that this is very much like a Champions of Olympia sort of a game mode. And that's all the pictures that I had. Now, there were 2 other things that they talked about, but before I get into that, I'll just say that I am eager to have time to try Champions of Olympia. Once we sort of migrate to 254 and this KVK is over, I think I'll have more energy to go and do that, and I've heard those changes are really good. So another game mode that is a lot like Champions of Olympia, if you're into Champions of Olympia, should be really fun. And I think there's a lot of potential to play with things that are in-game but aren't currently in use. For example, you could theoretically add a shipyard building to your city. And with your shipyard building in your city, you can station commanders to work there to get different benefits, for example. So that would give like Julius Caesar, who I will never use ever for almost anything, something I could do with him, which would be kind of cool. Or there could be other upgrades that you end up researching to improve your ships. I don't know what they're going to do. But I'm just pointing out that there's a lot of things that they could do beyond just what you see here. And I think that a shipyard in your city with upgrades that you could research, or commanders you could station there, or quests you could run with commanders in the shipyard, like there's really a lot they could do that would add depth to the game and hopefully not unfun grind. But there's I think a lot you could add, okay? So the other 2 things that they talked about is, well, let me jump in game. They mentioned in the video that governors are concerned about healing cost, and the developers were acknowledging that they're thinking about this and they're looking at this, but that's all they said. And they did cite the fact that there is crystal technology to help with the healing cost. And I just want to call attention to the fact that although there is crystal technology to help with the healing cost, that technology all sits at the tail end of the tech tree, which means you're probably not going to have it for the majority of your fighting. And if you're not spending, you're not going to get the majority of this tech at all. So I think that there's still some thinking that needs to be done there and could be done there to make healing much more free-to-play friendly. And honestly, just taking it and putting it at the front of the tech tree, or even as a separate tech tree, would go a long way, right? Even just relocating what you have to be like just a row below everything that's here at the start would be pretty cool too. Okay. And there's a couple of ways you could gate that if they felt it needed to be gated for some reason, right? You could gate that behind the level of your Crystal Research Center so that you have to level up your Crystal Research Center a fair amount to get the very top end of it. There's still gating they could do, but just make it more accessible. And the other issue is, of course, helps. And you run out of helps. I mean, you just do, especially if you are fighting a lot. You'll notice that when I fight, I typically wait until I have like 400,000 or 500,000 in my hospital, and then I smash the heal button, because I fight for so long throughout a day that I might run out of helps. And that's not how things should work, right? Like, I don't think that especially as like a whale, I should have to worry about running out of helps when I'm legitimately field fighting. Do you see what I mean? There's some weird balance here that needs looking at, and I'm glad that they're looking at it. I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I don't want to also dig up this whole conversation. I just want to mention the fact that they're looking at it, which I think is good. And the other thing that they're looking at is crystal technology. The whole thing, crystal tech, which is also, I think, a good thing for them to be looking at because, you know, there's a lot of people who look at crystal tech and the amount that they have to spend, and they're not happy with the way that works. And the problem is that now crystal tech is a huge financial driver for Lilith Games. I mean, look, you know, I don't have any inside information on that. It's just seems really obvious that the amount of money that people are spending on crystal technology is a big driver of finances, right? And so if they're going to address crystal technology, they have to make as much or more money doing something else because they have to go spend time and money to go make something else. Do you see what I mean? So my only thought there is that probably there's something they could do with cosmetics. I'm not talking like, you know, $5 avatar frame cosmetics. I'm talking like $500 cosmetics or $5,000 cosmetics, things that you earn that aren't influencing your combat effectiveness, but give people that are spending a lot of money something that they can spend on if they want or don't spend on if they don't want to. Do you see what I mean? Cosmetics are typically what's used in a game that is focused on skill to try to enable people to spend and the game to make money without harming the competitive environment. So I have to think that like cosmetics will be the direction. And I actually think they've done a good job with like city themes, sort of changing the way you look and the way you fight. But one other thing they could do is to potentially split the physical appearance of your city and to make a separate set of cosmetics and then the effects that you have on your city, and you could choose one or the other. I don't know. Just spitballing here, some ways that they could really put emphasis on like high-end cosmetics and you know, beyond just city themes that would potentially replace crystal tech. I mean, maybe that's a stretch, right? Like maybe changing the way your commander looks, those sorts of cosmetics, right? Like maybe that's something you modify your armor with, changes the way the commander looks. I don't know. I'm just spitballing again. Commander skins could be a thing, right? Things that make them look different. People will probably buy that. Things that make your troops look different. I get that that influences people's ability to understand what's on the battlefield. But, you know, again, I'm just sort of spitballing on like things they could do that would generate money that are not crystal tech so that you could rely less on crystal tech for the revenue that it generates. So just some spitballing, okay? But I'm eager for your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think about the new Sea Battles game mode, which, again, in my estimation, looks a whole heck of a lot like Champions of Olympia, which means that you might see a ranking system, you might see a shop, it could have a shared shop. They could start to call all of these game modes something like, I don't know, I actually can't think of a name, like Champions of Rise of Kingdoms sounds really lame. That's the first thing I thought of. I think that these separate game modes are an interesting way for them to test new game mechanics before they end up in the mainstream in a KVK where if you have something in balance, it just really wrecks stuff. Throw a like on here if you enjoyed the video. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies.